Alright, so got this pocket all done. Way around. This is, I gotta replace this seam up in here on the inside. So I'm gonna have to wait until I get the cab off to do that. But this guy's all done, all welded in. Now I did have to make that guy. So, and you can see where I hit a little heavy with the grinder. I was I was being super careful with the welder, jumping around and only spotting in one place at a time and moving so that way I didn't warp the metal. And then when I hit it with the grinder with the flap disc on it, I just went hell-bent for Texas. But I can body fill it or go back and rework it if it really starts bugging me. But I want to have a really nice carpet in here. That I've seen some of them where they like fold down and cover this and fold and cover that and have a mat here, and I'd really like to do that in here. So this guy's not welded in yet. My step, I mean, he's solid. I was just playing with fitting it, and up here I've got a mess to deal with. And then over here I was dealing with the same issue. There's a seam right there, and I replaced all of this. That was this guy. I folded him out flat so that way I could make a template, but the bottom half of him was all rotted out. This was all rotted out. So once you got past this, it was fine, but I figured, you know, I got a nice big sheet of metal. I'm gonna go ahead and just replace it all, and you know, put weld through primer on it, and then put rust encapsulator, rust barrier stuff on the back side, which I did, and that's my end result in there. So he looks good, and this whole thing's nice and solid. So I got to do something about this. So from about here back is factory floor. From here up, this is an LMC floor, and they didn't give me a whole lot of material, so I don't know what I'm gonna do. Maybe I'll say screw it and leave it and just deal with the fact that that is there. I mean, it's on the passenger side. I'm not really ever gonna see it very much. And if I get that floor mat that I was talking about where they fold down, and I mean, that's gonna cover all of that stuff. So, but I promised my kids that we would get some yard work stuff done, so that's what we're getting ready to do. But this is what I've been playing with for the last, I don't know, however many hours. That really catches my eye and bugs the crap out of me, though. I don't like that. So I don't know, maybe I'll blend it or something, who knows. I mean, it doesn't look bad, it just doesn't look good. Well, I guess I can't really say that that looks bad, but I don't know. I mean, I have to add maybe, that'd be like a 1/4 inch material all the way along there. I don't know. We'll see. But for what it is, I mean, I can take this thing out now, but the way I've got it in there, I mean, it's welded top and bottom, and I had weight on it when I welded it. So to get it out of there, I think what I'm gonna have to do is just cut it with the angle grinder, and yeah, just to create a little bit of clearance in there to get that thing out. Because when I went to cut this piece out, which is, here's what's left of him, and you can see there was some rot on there. So he goes right there, because the rest of this was pretty well gone. But this last little bit was holding it. So when I cut through here, the whole thing, you know, it didn't drop, but it shifted. So I had to make sure that I put this guy back in, and I did a couple of spot welds on him, did a bunch of measurements, made sure everything was going to be where it was supposed to be, and put it all back. So I know it's right. I know it's where it's supposed to be. So I'm at least that far in. So once I get this step in, I'm gonna go ahead and cut this guy out, and then I have to fix this. I can't get in here because this guy's right here, but I'm not sure if you can see in there. Let me shine a flashlight and you can see the penetration I got on those welds. So, not bad, but I gotta treat that stuff in there so that way it doesn't rot. So, but that's the bottom of that, the door hinge pocket on the inside of the pillar. And I got a string hanging off of there when I was welding, but I welded this from the outside, so that little string, I mean, that's just, I guess it's my lack of skill showing through, but I mean, it is on there, it is going to hold. I mean, like I said, I welded that from the outside, and that looks like I welded it from the inside. So I got decent penetration, set this thing all up, but that's that hole right there. That's that gap I was showing you on the outside where it's that pinch weld. It's missing a section. That's what I was talking about right there. So I'm going to wait for that until I get this thing off the frame and on a stand, and I'll get in there and fix that. And that guy's just cut off disc. So, but I mean, for what it is, absolute worst case scenario, it's kind of ratty, but I mean, kind of fix the truck right now. It is a project, and I guess it you know, most projects start out as a rat rod, and that's kind of where this thing's going. That was the inside of what that pocket looked like, so I got it all cleaned up real good. But yeah, I went and got some, let me see, I couldn't find 16 gauge. I was looking for 16 gauge, or excuse me, 18 gauge, and I got 16 gauge instead of the 18 gauge, and that's what I used to make this guy. And I kind of patterned him off of this, so that way they'd be pretty well even, and measured, you know, top and bottom across to make sure that they're square, because this, like right now, this guy, because of this excess metal right here, it's hitting, so it won't allow this guy to go all the way back. So it's, instead of it being flat, it's kicked out. So I need to do some trimming and some adjusting to get him just right. But, you know, I measured that patch that I put in there, and that patch is right. And this patch, you know, I've got him almost all the way in there. I mean, I can reach around to the back, and there's a small gap down at the bottom, and then about here it disappears. So that one's not that bad. He's pretty close to what he's supposed to be. It just, well, it looks like butt. But nothing some Bondo won't fix. So anyway, that's my update on my 56 for today. I go back to work next week, so I'm trying to get some stuff done on this thing. Like I said, I'd really like to drive my truck. And, well, I don't think that's going to happen this year. You know, if I can get the cab to the point I can take it off and get it in my garage, I can work on it over the winter. So that's my goal. But, you know, the more I think about it, the more it's like, okay, I got to do this before I do that. I got to do the other thing. So my goal was to get this done and get this stabilized so I can do that, what do you call it, firewall mounted brake swing set that I got. And once I do that, then I can do the steering column, and that's pretty much everything that I need, because I gotta have the cab in here to be able to see where that steering column goes, so I can lift up the bottom of him to align it with a Camaro clip. But once I do that, you know, that's pretty much the end of the work on the cab while it's on the frame. But I can use the cab to line up the bed to make sure I've got him the right distance, so that way I can trim the tail of the frame off, because this was originally a 3200, and I found measurements based off of holes on the frame, so that way I was able to shorten this from a 3200 down to a 3100. So I've still got, I don't know, like 3 inches I got to take off the back of the frame, so the bed is actually kicked up in the back a little bit. Once I take those 3 inches off, then here, I'm gonna walk over there and show you. once I take those 3 inches off, then I can mount this guy. So this is a painted bumper. It's a piece of crap, but it has all of the mounts. It's not too awful bad. It just needs to be fit. So once I get him fit, and you can see right here how the bed's actually sitting on top of the frame, this is actually supposed to go behind here. So I can cut that back, and then I can mount the holes for this guy and get him set up. And ideally, I'm going to put a fuel tank back here, so I need to do that, but I can leave the bed on to do that piece. And then the next thing that I got, let me walk over here. I've got a chrome front bumper with the mounts, but there's no frame section on it. But in the back of the truck, I do have the original bumper. Where's he hiding? There it is. So that's the original front bumper, and it does have a section of frame on it underneath there. So, while the cab is still on, I can put my front end back on, and then I can figure out where my bumper goes, make this stuff up here look a lot prettier. Then once I get the bumpers on and I get the frame cut in the rear, then it would be appropriate to pull the cab, and then I can spend the rest of the summer cleaning up the frame, finishing the weld joints between the Camaro clip and the 56. And you can see what I was talking about here. So that's the Camaro steering linkage. It's collapsible, and that's the original 56. Well, it comes down at a severe angle. I'm thinking bring it up to somewhere around here to better align it with that guy. And yeah, these brake lines need to get taken out of the way and cleaned up. But if I do that, then I'll have maybe not a straight shot, but a hell of a lot better shot to this power steering box. So that way it's easier to connect, easier to line up. So, and this, more I think about it, just to get it on the road, I think I'm going to rebuild this engine. This is a, I don't know if I can see it, but it's an 010 high nickel block. I ran the numbers on it. It's, let me see, it's either a DZ302, which I highly doubt, a 327, or a 350. Now, it's got smog era heads on it, so I don't think it's the DZ302. If it is, somebody, you know, cut a bunch of crap off of it and threw some crappy heads on it to get it on the road. More than likely, it's either a 327 or a 350. It's got a 2-barrel carb on it, so I'm really leaning towards 327, possibly 350. What I'm thinking about doing, though, is there's, I don't remember if it was Car Crafter or Horsepower, but they did a write-up on how to make 450 horse out of a small block and run 87 octane fuel. So, you know, you can daily drive it if you want. You got good horsepower. I'm thinking about doing that. So if you look that up online, you'll find that. But it's a decent block, is I guess what I'm getting at. It's a decent starting point. And I do have, hiding over here in my stash of junk, some camel hump heads. Now, they're the small valve heads, so they'd be kind of cool to put on there, but that build that I was talking about calls for a specific set of heads. You know, it's just like baking a cake. They give you a set of instructions that you have to follow to be able to do it the right way and do it reliably. So that's probably the route I'm going to go with. And it calls for stuff like, I think it's a solid roller lifter cam. So the cam and the rollerized lifters, that's going to be expensive. The heads are going to be expensive, but I mean, small block Chevy stuff's going through the floor right now. I mean, this stuff is cheap. Everybody wants an LS, so I mean, a 450 horse small block Chevy, I mean, it'd look right in the truck, it'd fit in the frame, you know, I wouldn't have to modify anything else. You know, I could put air conditioning, power steering, alternator, all of that stuff, bolt right onto the front of this thing, no problem. You know, and do fuel injection. I mean, even at that, the geez, you can get a fuel injection setup for right around $1,000 right now. So I think that's the way I'm gonna go with it, at least for now. I mean, my dream would be to have like a 348 or a 409 in here, which those are getting rare, those are getting expensive. I mean, everything I see says like $10,000 to build one of those things, or you know, $5,000 just to buy the block. So that would be expensive, but you know, make decent power, it'd look cool. Either that or oh, what was it? I think it was like the 95, 96 Corvette. I think it was the LT1 motor. Don't quote me on that, but it was a really rare overhead cam hemispherical head Chevy small block, and it was like a joint venture between General Motors and, oh hell, I don't remember. One of those would be kind of cool to have in here too. You know, just not the quintessential small block or an LS. You know, either a 348, 409, or one of those motors, one of those LT motors out of the Camaro. But those things are expensive too. But I want to get the truck on the road first. Once the truck's on the road, then I'll start worrying about the other stuff. And I have a long way to go before that, so that's still just a dream. But anyway, so that is my update. I'm going to try and get better at doing this whole filming thing. I do have a better camera, and I do have a tripod. I'm just, I don't know, I'm kind of ugly. I'm afraid I'll break the camera I get in front of it. But thanks for watching.